Hello and welcome to another one of my video tutorials. I'm Jasmin Junger, also known as kuschelirmel on DeviantArt, and today I'm going to show you how I did the lighting in my deviation water magic. We're starting off with an image where the background is almost done. It will be tweaked later, but the main colors and tones are in, and the darkness or lightness is already set. So what I'm doing here is to add some layers, overall color layers on the girl layer to make her fit better into the overall scene. I mostly use multiply blend mode for this, and sometimes screen, or if I want it lighter. And now I'm going to start laying in some more detailed light, base light. This is where you start paying attention to where your actual light source is. In this case I want her to glow from the water, more or less. So I'm putting in some base glow in the color that I want. So it's not really the glow yet, it's just some color corrections on a soft light or overlay layer. And now you can see that I'm going in with a smaller brush instead of a complete layer, and I'm painting, trying to fix the lighting situation, because she used to be lit from the top left and now she needs to be lit from the bottom, more or less. So I'm going in with darker colors on the soft light layer, trying to fix the light on her, because if you want something to glow you also need strong shadows, because otherwise it will not really work out. If you have a strong light source you always need a strong shadow as well. What you can also see is that I do not zoom in at this point. I'm just trying to get the overall light right. So I'm switching between doing the smaller stuff and the bigger stuff, like you just saw with the big brush and the shadows. What I think is very important at this step is that you do not rush ahead. Do not start in putting the actual real highlights. Do not start putting in the deepest shadows yet. Just build it up one layer at a time. Mix it up with soft light, multiply layers, and maybe also in what I'm doing here is trying to fix some of the background. So I'm using hard light layers, which I find really nice, give a nice glow also, but you have to be really careful with these as well as the color dodge layers, because they are really heavy and they can pretty much overwhelm your whole composition. Here you can see how I'm trying to fix some light rays. Basically I have them on I paint some blobs on a new layer, and then I use the filter blur, radial blur filter on full speed and zoom, and then I'm just going in and trying to fix it. And as I'm not really, there is no real great method that I have yet, so this is what I end up doing, fiddling and fiddling and fiddling. And here you can also see how I'm trying to adjust the color in the background, because something just does not feel right. I cannot get rid of all of the light on her, on the top of her, so I decided to just put in some light to make it fit in. So if you think out of the box, if something doesn't fit the way you want it, then you don't have to switch the object itself. You could switch the background, or you could switch the light situation around. And what you can see here is how I love my smart objects. If you double click on a smart object you can get the original back, so I can go in and do not have to make all the top layers invisible to see what I'm doing. So this is really, for me it's time saver, but it only works if you have a lot of RAM and a good machine, because otherwise your files, they get really big and they may clog down your computer. Next I'm going to fix some of the flowers, and for that I'm opening the smart object and putting those two layers into the smart object itself. And when I save the smart object, the other flower object will update along with it, which is also very much of a time saver. So now I'm also putting in the darkness on everything, which is the basis for my glow that will come next. Because you cannot make something glow if everything around it is light. It just does not work. So start off with something that is a little darker than you would like, and then go in and start with the glowy stuff. And for the basis of those glow effects, you can refer to my JPEG tutorial. It's called the glow effect, and you will find it in my gallery. Now you can see I'm trying to fix some overall light again, and always keep your light source in mind. And now you can see that I'm not happy. I'm staring at the picture and I'm not happy with the composition. So I was trying if it's good in a square, but then it cuts off so much. I don't like that. And now I'm doing a little more darkness around the edges, like a vignette, which I like more. But something is off, and I decided that it was just the canvas was too big. There was nothing going on the right side. Now I lost some of the flowers, and if you know where you put your layers, if you keep them together and you keep them labeled and you keep them in sets, then it is easy to make such adjustments. Now I'm just pushing the flowers more to the left. And while you watch me fiddle with some adjustment layers and some effects set to overlay or soft light and getting a better feel for my canvas, I just want to tell you that if you find something that is off, take the time to fix it. Don't just think, well, I'm going to put some light here anyway and no one will see it, because people will see it. They will not necessarily realize that it's there, but they will see that something is off. So bottom line, if you put something in or have something done that you do not like in the end, get rid of it. No matter how much or little time you've spent on it, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Don't just keep it because of sentimental reasons or whatever. Now I'm starting with the actual glow, and for that my first try is always to go in with any brush, anything, just to see the effect, just to see if I like it. And then mostly I get rid of that layer and I'm going in a little more precisely. So I'm using a color dodge layer on top of everything for these kinds of things, because I find that the glow, it should not just be on the object you want to make glow, but it goes beyond the object. So you cannot clip the layer to the object, but you need to do it freehand on top of everything, and be sure to go a little out of the borders so it actually gets that glow. And now for the first time you can see me zoom in, and now I'm going to try and fix this glow layer and make sure that it's where it should be. And what I'm usually doing is to go in with quite a lot of glow in the beginning. You can see here on her cheeks and on her nose it's way too much, but I'm going in now with a bit more than I need, and then later you will be able to see that I'm going to use the eraser to get rid of anything that is too much. This way I can also get nicer transitions, because I'm not the best painter in the world. And also what I do and what I found is not so bad actually. I used to think that you need to be very correct and very much on the spot with where you put those lines and whatnot, but it turns out that it gives your whole work a painterly look if not everything is so perfect. If there's a line too much or a bit too prominent, or if you can see some squiggles, it makes the whole thing more painterly instead of photorealistic, in case you like that. So basically it's one layer of actual glow. I mean, you can go overboard with that. For me this method works really well because it's gradual and it builds up, and I can color pick from the image, and the effect is not all that pronounced that it overtakes the whole image. So what I try to do is here, for example, give it some glow in the background as well. Don't just stop when you're satisfied with your main character, because everything else is going to be lit by the same glow or light. So it's not, you should not see it as foreground, background and main subject. Just try to see it as one big image and stop with the divisions. So again, I'm trying to put in some sparkles, and this time I put them in a way that they are very, very much in the background, just a few, and very low opacity. I thought that gave a nice effect, but I guess I could have just left them out as well. Trying it with sparkles now, and these I'm going to keep, because at this point I already know that I want rain in there, so I want something that symbolizes raindrops and the light that they will catch. So some more sparks for where the water is lit mostly, and yeah, some renaming and some staring at the piece, I guess. And here is the rain. I'm going to show you in a separate video how to actually get the rain. In this one I'm just going to show you what I'm doing for the lighting. So what I'm also doing is I'm adding some more effects, because I now know that I want to keep the rain. So also the fish, they need some splashes on their backs. But basically when you do a manip and you find that you're almost done, take a step back and take another look. Is there something else that would make it perfect? Something that will give it that extra kick. Some more light, some reflections, some drops, sparkles. Keep in mind, if you are working with water, that everything will be wet. If you, in this case for example, if you don't put the rain, then you can still put the splashes from the fish, but everything else would then be mostly dry. But if you put in the rain, everything else is going to start to shine. And we're going to see that in a minute. So what I'm doing here is I'm emphasizing all the ripples in the water, because I don't want the water to be like just a sheet of glass when the rain comes down. The original photo of the water was a rippling surface of a river or something, but in this case it really fits well with the rain coming down. So I'm adding some more reflections and some more light on the water, also on top of everything. and a little more glow for the flowers. So basically I'm going in and I'm trying to make sure that everything fits together. If you have a lot of glow and sparkles on one part of the image and everything else is just dull, then it will not look very, usually not look very interesting. But if you go in and balance it a bit and make sure that everything else gets their share of light and shadows as well, then usually you can get a really good composition. And here I'm again going in with some more darkness and some color adjustments, some layer adjustments, curves, making sure that she's the lightest part and that you still can see that there's light coming from the top, and trying to make the water lilies more fit in color-wise. I like to do my gradient layers on top of everything also. You just have to be a bit careful that you do not overwhelm your image with it. So just fixing some details. Sometimes I can be a real stickler for details. I just find now some more glow. Probably you don't even see that in the finished piece, but well, makes me feel good to know it's there. And again, some color adjustments, some trials and errors. Now fiddling with the rain layers, trying to figure out which ones I want to keep. And now I need to go in and put in some water, and in that case you can get away with just putting in some highlights where it should be shiny from the rain, and just put in some, well, how would you call it, some drips and some drops on the leaves and on the flowers as well, because this is where you will see it the most in the foreground. And this is basically what I'm doing. Also, as usual, first with quite a lot of oomph, and if I find that it's too much, I go in with an eraser. And here also, if you just paint in some gypsies on the leaves, then this will help with the rain effect, because it looks funny if you have rain and it does not look wet otherwise. And also it makes every surface even more shiny, so I'm going in and trying to figure out which ones need some more highlights. And that's basically what I'm doing here. And going in with the blur tool, because I blurred the background a little bit, so everything in the background needs to be blurred a little bit. And another last round of adjustments until I'm satisfied. So I hope it was not too boring to watch, and I hope it, even though it is a very fast video because it took me quite a while and I did not want to cut anything out, that you will still have some learning effect. And if you need some specific pointers, please leave me a comment, so maybe I can concentrate in a separate video on what you actually need. Bye!